Everyone, my name is Jenny and welcome back to my creative space. It's been a little bit of a while since I've picked up my camera and did a bit of a reading vlog, and I've just gotten back from vacation and I didn't really read that much when I was on my trip, and I thought what a perfect time to just do a casual catch-up reading vlog. I have 2 books that I want to read for this vlog. Hopefully I'll finish it in this one. We'll see how it goes. But the first book that I have currently is The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. This one has been on my list to read for almost 2 years now. I've just been so intimidated by this read because I hear so many people say like it's really confusing, you're gonna be lost for a really long time. I don't know, I think I let everybody's commentary on this book kind of scare me out of reading it, but I recently started this. I'm on chapter 5 currently, and honestly, I am not as lost and as confused as I thought I would be. I really, from the prologue, immediately I was like, this is a book that I think I will really, really love and enjoy. I think N.K. Jemisin does this really interesting thing where you are dropped into the story and you are following separate character point of views, but one of the first chapters you're following this mother who finds out that her child has been killed by her spouse, and you are being spoken to as if you are the mother, and it is just such an interesting perspective to have because like obviously, I have a lot of empathy for this mother and for the loss of her child, but because it's framed in such a way that you are the mother, you are just so dropped into the story and you are so connected immediately. And because the world is so complex, I think that is probably one of the most perfect ways to drop a reader in because you feel so involved so immediately. And there's so many different chaotic plot points that are happening just within the first 5 chapters because there is this large quake that is like ending the world that is going on. And it is so confusing, and I think having the lack of detail currently isn't a negative for the book. I think it definitely sets up the vibe and the tone that she's going for perfectly. And then the second read that I have that I picked mostly because I thought it would be a nice palate cleanser to the more complex and kind of intense narrative themes that are going on in the 5th season. I have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This book I got off the recommendation from 2 bloggers that I really enjoy watching, which is Rachel from Ravenhair Reader. This is a 5-star read for her. And then also Erin from Booked and Busy. I don't believe she's finished reading this book yet, but whenever she picks up a book and speaks about a book, even a book she's never read, I am immediately like, I'm purchasing that. And the way she speaks about books and sells books, she needs to be hired by every marketing team out there. But I am, let me see, 7 chapters into this read currently, and I have the audio on Libby. The reading or the writing in the prologue in the beginning of this, I know people say like purple prose, but this was probably the deepest shade of purple of prose I'd ever encountered in my life, and I was really confused on where the narrative was taking me, and like certain things I had to reread because it was like, what are we describing here? And not that it's badly written, but it's just like sometimes things were a little bit too detailed and there's a little bit too much of that purple prose in there where I was like, I think I need the audiobook assistance to get where the author is going with this. Surprisingly, there is a sort of writing and tone shift when you get to the first chapter because you're following one of the main character's perspective. And I think that perspective is such much more straightforward and easier to understand. So currently I'm following Rave, and she's like part of like this group that rebels against the crown, and they help people in need and all sorts of things, almost like a Robin Hood kind of storyline. And currently I'm not like too deep into the plot yet. We just saw her on like a mission where she's supposed to take out a certain person who has been abusing children and doing terrible things, and obviously has been getting away with it. She's an interesting character. She's definitely like a baddie, and the text makes that very clear that she is a baddie, and I'm enjoying it. I think I'm very interested to see where this goes. I'm not sure if like she's gonna link up with a crew of people or if she's gonna just be a solo player currently. But I know that dragons are a big part in this world, and I'm excited to see where they come like more in depth into the story. I'm having a good time with both. Definitely two very different vibes and energy currently from the two books, but I'm having a good time, and I think when I have any other updates, I'll come back and talk to you. Other than that, I hope you are doing well, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this vlog. Read up to chapter 20, and thus far there is an assassin out to get her, and the person she reports to tells her like, stay inside until he leaves the city, and we'll like set a trap for somebody else that is less important to our cause to be taken out so that you're safe. And she's like, I don't find that to be right, that you're just letting one of our underlings get killed instead of me kind of thing. But I'm like, I mean, they did say that you were a big part of making the operation happen. So, I mean, like, I get why she's concerned, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, you are getting the job done, so it makes sense that they value you more. Not that I agree with that, but she's our main character. Like, don't go out there and get killed. Hello. But basically we, meet the assassin and whatever. And I don't think I will say too much after that because it can be considered spoilers. I'm about like maybe 15% of the way into this book, but we did get another perspective and point of view in this book, and it's like from a male character. I'm not sure where exactly he plays into this narrative, but I'm assuming his POV is going to be her potential love interest, because as of right now there isn't any romance at all. It's more so about her life as like the blade of this rebellion group, and how she kind of is isolated and isn't so like, she keeps herself at a distance, and we're more so learning about her character than like having a romance on page 2, which I enjoy. There is like a fantasy plotline going on, and I enjoy that we're not immediately like, I am, this assassin, but the most important thing right now is this man that looks really good. Not that that's bad. Like, I would pick up that if that's what I was looking for, but that right now isn't what I'm looking for. And so I really appreciate that romance isn't too heavy right now and isn't overshadowing like us getting to know Rave as a character. I was a little bit afraid that the assassin who's after her would be the love interest, but then I met him and I was like, there's no way that this guy is going to be her love interest, right? If he is, I'll come back and I'll tell you. I don't think he is, because I would assume that we would get a point of view from him. And also because I'm immersion reading, I'm reading with the text and with the audiobook, they give him like this country accent, the assassin that she meets. And it's really funny because when the person she reports to when she comes back from her job is like, don't go out there because we all know the crown hired him because he gets the job done. Like, he won't leave this city until he has blood on his blade. And I'm like, oh, like, he sounds like he's a dude that knows how to do his job, right? And so he sounds kind of scary, like intimidating. And then the audiobook section, when she meets him, like, he has this very, like, I don't know, this is obviously like a stereotype in like audiobook narration, but usually male characters of this job description have like deep, gravelly voices and like, right? But he's got a country accent. He has a country accent. He sounds like any old guy that I would have met visiting my family in Texas, right? Like, but he's a killer. There's nothing intimidating about his voice, which makes it kind of funny. Like, oh wow, like, this is the man I'm supposed to be scared of. And his description, like, he wears tight leather pants and his like boots clang every time he walks. Like, it's almost like a precursor to your doom, like the noise of his boots coming towards you. And then all of a sudden he has this little country accent, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, he did punch her in the face and potentially, fractured her eye socket, but I'm like, I'm not entirely sure if I would have picked that. Like, he could have a country accent, but like, I just assumed that he would sound more threatening with his country accent. And he just sounds like any old guy. And maybe that's part of his guise. Like, he's any old guy, so you wouldn't be threatened by him, and then all of a sudden he took you out. I'm not sure if that's what Sarah was writing, but it is what it is. But I'm having a good time. I'm having a much better time with the audiobook helping me read. There are sections in the book that have like these diary entries from this character named Elowen, and I'm really wondering how these diary entries will play into the plot. Like, I'm not sure if the diary entries is from like a character point of view from the past, and it's helping like build the world and us understanding how dragons are a part of the world, or if Elowen is a character who we will eventually meet later on. But other than that, I'm having a good time. I haven't picked up the 5th season yet because I've been working, and the 5th season is a little bit more big brain energy for me. I might pick it up like towards the weekend when I have more energy in my mind. But other than that, I think When the Moon Hatched is the right pacing and like easy to understand but interesting plot. I also wanted to show you, I recently got this clicker for my Kindle, and I got this one because it's like really compact. You can put it on your finger like this and then click through. All the ones that I've seen have like this kind of bigger remote, and I felt like those were a little too bulky for my liking. And then I saw this one and I was like, that's perfect. And I feel like, in my point of view, the clicker isn't blocking any of the words. Like, it could potentially be this ebook format. Yeah, I feel like this is going to just improve my reading. Like, it definitely isn't a like necessity, but it just ups the accessibility and the cozy factor. Like, when read, next page, read, next page. Like, wow, what a game changer. Whoever thought about this, great. What I think would be even better is if you could just connect this to the Bluetooth on your Kindle, and it could just click, and then you could click back and forth, versus like having this kind of clunky piece that you have to attach to your screen. But I'm no tech person. Like, I don't know how to create things. Here's Mo. He wanted to add something. He's very upset he has to wear his flower because he's biting his feet. You want to cry to the people? You want to tell them how sad you are that you have your flower on? Oh, there. Anyway, yeah, but I just think what a fun invention. It would be better without this clunky thing, but I don't know how to make it, so I'm gonna just have to be okay with this. But that's my feedback. Hello, everyone. I know at the beginning of this vlog, I said that the vlog would be about 2 specific books, but I've just been in a very reading mood. So I've decided that I'm gonna actually put aside the 5th season right now because it is a bit more of a big brain book, and I definitely want to continue reading it, but I want to be fully present in my read for the 5th season. I guess I have to chat now about why I am DNFing when the moon hatched. And this just makes me sad because I wanted to know what all the people were excited about, and I wanted to be one of the people who loves this subgenre of fantasy. And I don't know. I've read quite a few now. Serpent and the Wings of Night, and that was interesting. Not that I don't think that the couple was interesting in there, but I feel like the actual fantasy plot was really what I was fully interested in, and I think the couple dynamic kind of added to the story, which is what I like with fantasy romance, and kind of what I'm looking for is like there is a strong fantasy plot and the couples make sense. And then another indie fantasy read that I had picked up was Blood Mercy by Bella Roth, and I love that one. That one was a 5-star read for me in 2023, and I need to continue with that. Amazing, stunning, like there is a fantasy plot that we primarily focus in on the beginning, and like the couple, I think they are just so sweet and unproblematic. And for me, because they're unproblematic and they don't have a complicated relationship because they are very communicative with each other. And I guess for me, it helps so much with also focusing on the actual fantasy aspects of the story. Bella Roth is able to build such a convincing couple for me, and a couple that I can root for, and a couple that I can find solace in while like these other fantasy plots are going on. And with Moonhatch, I think the writing for me has left a little bit to be desired because I think the writing just wasn't for me. There were points when I genuinely was confused as to what the author was attempting to say, because it's not that the writing is overly lyrical. I think there's certain descriptive sentences that were a little too over descriptive, or there were several metaphors being added into the sentence to describe one thing, but by the time you got to like the third metaphor in the sentence, I, as a reader, was like, what were we talking about to begin with? Because I'm struggling to understand what is being described. I think before in the intro I said like the prologue was very lyrical, like to the point where I was like, not that it felt like old English, like, you know, when you read Shakespearean plays, there is this old English that you are reading that you're like, what did he just say to me? Like, what is going on in this scene? But it's not like that because she's using pretty modern English words. Like, I don't know, I think it's just the way the words are tied together. I think it's really hard to explain without having a specific example. Let me try to find an example for you, actually. The most vague context of this scene is she is with the male love interest, and I guess at this point, she's attempting to not form any sort of emotional attachment, like she doesn't want to know anything about him. And here is this paragraph that is written. I snap my mouth around the thought's sharp point as I slip inside myself, stripping back the sprouting emotions I feel for Khan. Until I'm left with a bare skeleton I leave lying on my internal shore, bundling all of my budding curiosity and tentative appreciation, tying it to a stone. With stout determination, I creep across my lake, shards of silver light spearing up from beneath the ice, like something bright and bold is soaring through the water. I'm assuming her lake is like her subconscious, unless lake is a euphemism for something else that I'm unaware of. I mean, there could have been a lyrical way we could speak about how she wanted to distance herself from someone and not be emotionally attached, or, you know, she's pushing away this human feeling that she has where she wants to form a bond and relationship with someone, but at this point in her life, she is incapable of doing so, or she does not want to do so. But I feel like many times in the text, there are paragraphs like that where it's like, it is so overly described that it takes away from the reading experience. But then on another end, there are moments where the writing feels just so cut and dry. As I said before, Rave is like this baddie character. She's this assassin for this rebellion group, and the thing about her is that she doesn't have attachment to other people, I guess, and we are reminded about that constantly, that she, you know, is detached from everyone, and that makes her, you know, ruthless and whatever. But there are moments where she's like, we are not shown her like bad assassin energy. We are told it through her internal thoughts, where she's like in a room and she sees another male, and her internal mind will be like, oh, well, because he's a male, he must be bad, and I'm going to chop off his nether regions, his sensitive areas, because I'm so big and bad. And I'm like, but she says this threat there, she uses another word for rooster. I don't know if I could actually say this word out loud on my video, nor do I want to say the word. It's 4 letters, so I'm sure you can guess. But she uses that word in a non-sexual way and in a threatening way towards men, but in her internal thoughts. And sometimes she will say that to the male love interest, and it just got really frustrating because I was like, I really enjoyed her character and how we were getting to know her in the beginning, and it wasn't so romance heavy in the forefront. Like, we were building this fantasy world and getting to understand her position in this world. But then I think those internal thoughts being so repetitive took away from that original character building that we were seeing. And it was just kind of disappointing because I was like, she had the basis to be like a genuinely strong baddie female character who was an assassin who was struggling with finding connection and potentially going on this journey of self-discovery was a little frustrating for me. At the 40% mark, I just didn't understand where the plot was attempting to go. It was very meandering. And not that I wanted like the characters to immediately have this chemistry or whatever, but like there was an attempt to banter between the two that I felt didn't really create any sense of tension, or like I didn't want them to be in the same room to have a conversation, because I really didn't care to know what their conversation was about. It felt to me like it lacked a lot of substance because of the fact Rave wanted to be so distant from Khan. And then the fact that like she consistently threatened Khan's life. Like, I understand you are an assassin, but I don't think anything convinced me in the text why she was so ruthlessly threatening towards him. Like, there is an assumption that he is her enemy and he is a threat, but there was nothing about his character that showed he was a threat. If anything, he was very much a neutral character from where I was at, and I don't know, I just didn't have any enjoyment when I was picking up the book. I did appreciate that I was buddy reading this with someone else, and my friend also decided to DNF the book, and very much so for the same reasons. I was just sad because this book is so pretty. I really do appreciate when indie authors put in like those extra little bits for the reading experience. But evidently this is not a book for me. I think what I will do next is probably read the next book in the Blood Mercy series, because I think the series finale comes out in June, so next month it comes out. And I am very behind in that series because I'm only on book 2. But yeah, I don't know who I would market it to, because I struggled so much with the writing style, and it's not that I can't read books with lyrical writing. Honestly, I prefer that a little bit more than just straight bland writing. It was almost a little too much that it was distracting me. Alright, so I'm coming in to close out this reading vlog. It was a bit of a mess, but before I close it out, I just wanted to say that I finished reading This Woven Kingdom. I'm really thankful that I picked up this recommendation from Erin from Booked and Busy. This book, I mean, I had work this week, so I wasn't able to pick up the book as much as I wanted to, but when I wasn't reading, I was thinking about reading this book and thinking about like, I just want to know more about the characters. I really enjoyed the fact that it was dual POV. Not every chapter was switched on and off. I think the rhythm of switching between our two main characters was done very well. The pacing of reveals, the moment that they finally kind of meet face to face and speak to each other. I didn't know Tahira Mafi wrote like this, and like, to my surprise, This Woven Kingdom I don't think was talked about that much when it released. I am so enthralled, like the character work. I really love Eliza and the way she is characterized and the slow reveal about her, who she fully is in this book. Were there any necessarily surprises about her character? No, not really, but I think the reveals were done so well that that specific trope that she falls under was executed very well. Like, it wasn't something that bothered me because I felt like, oh, this wasn't done well. Like, she did a good job at pacing out the full reveal of who she was. The end, there's like a little bit of a reveal about like a side character, and honestly, I was a little shocked. Like, Tahira Mafi really packaged the angst, the reveals, the character work, the story, the plot, the pace. I think this was just the perfect book for me to pick up after feeling so slumpy and feeling like I was reading a book that I didn't have too much enjoyment with. So I'm very glad that I have a completed book and a win in this vlog. And the romance in this book, or like the potential romance in this book, like, there is something about romantic angst in YA books that is just like, I really need to get the authors in on a workshop of creating tension, angst, like the build for character, like romantic potential. Tahira Mafi really has it down. I wonder what it's like in her Shatter Me series, because I know that one has like a romance. I don't know if there's a love triangle, but I know there's a romance in there. I don't know. Was she writing the romance like how she's writing here? Because interesting. Okay. And then the other book that I halfway read, about halfway, was When the Moon Hatched. This one I DNF'd, as you know. I would say, for if you want to give this a try, I'd say, yeah, give it a go. Give it a good college try. Like, but yeah, I wouldn't, just because I didn't like it, I don't think that it couldn't be a book for you. I would say, give it a good go. Am I encouraging you to push it up on your TBR? Probably not, but you know, I am glad that I gave it a go just to see what all the hype was about. I'm glad that I gave this a go. I'm glad that this book has found its people. And I'm kind of sad that I'm not one of those people. Then the 5th season, I put this on pause. I'm on chapter 7, and I'm only putting it on pause because, again, I'm just not in the mind space to be a very present audience for this. And I think this is a book where I really need to be focused in order to really like appreciate all that N.K. Jemisin has in here. I've really enjoyed the writing so far. I don't feel it is as intimidating and as scary as I think I originally thought it would be. And so I am so excited that I'm going to continue picking up this book soon. All right, and with that, it's the end of my video. I thank you so much for being along with me on this very unplanned, all over the place video. I'm more of a mood reader than anything. I don't really, when I set a TBR, I feel like that puts more pressure on me to read, and then I end up not reading any of the books that I plan. And you've witnessed that front and center. So I thank you so much for being along for the ride, going with the whim, sticking to the very end of this video. I'm sure it's probably a long one, because I just don't know how to stop yapping. But thank you again for watching this video, and I have an exciting video project that I want to work on in the month of June, so please look forward to that. You know, if there's any videos you want to see me make, or, you know, a book you think that I would enjoy and you want me to vlog and chat about, put it in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Tell me a book that you've read post reading slump that really rejuvenated your enjoyment of reading, because right now mine is This Woven Kingdom, and yeah, I can't stop thinking about it. I don't know if I'm going to pick up the sequel yet. We'll see. I have another book that I have to read. Other than that, again, I can't stop yapping. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!